Nope. Okay, here we go. So, what is my story? My story is called No Ordinary Love. And it's about,
Wait a second. Start it over.
Oh. Wait, you know what? I should read my evaluation and I should tell you what the story is.
Okay.
That would give a good opening to the video. Woo, woo, woo. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, it's not working. Fuck it. Okay. So, what does it say? University of California Office of the Registrar, Narrative Course Evaluation, Winter 93. Hoover, Malcolm, Shaba. Make sure my middle name is Shabazz, but anyway. Blah, 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 blah. Malcolm Hoover's excellent work, instructor and evaluation, blah, blah. Grade pass. Malcolm Hoover's excellent work for this course was distinguished by accomplished prose and engaging story material. He often focused on complex relationships to illuminate the internal conflict of his characters and the cultural clashes they experience. His final work, entitled No Ordinary Love, depicts the beginning of a relationship between two people who meet under the pretensions of an industrial dance club. The effective descriptions and smart dialogue in the disco are disco. Get the fuck out of here. I ain't meeting no disco. Yeah, fat little pillow pop. The effective descriptions and smart dialogue in the disco are balanced by the sweetness which grows between the couple as the story progresses. Malcolm regularly participated in group discussions, and his responses to his peers were consistently helpful. I didn't know that. He also made excellent use of his journal, because I was dogging fools in class. I was dogging fools. Like fools who just, I thought, had no constructive anything to say in their writing. I was just like, well, I think you should give up. No, I didn't say that, but you know what I mean? Like I was, if I didn't like a fool's story, I was letting them know. Like this one woman, dude, she read her story. I was like, I have no idea what you just said. Like, I don't even know what you're talking about. I have no understanding of whatever it is you said, and it was great.
Malcolm.
What?
What happened? So they go to this disco.
Okay, so there's this woman, and I've never seen the way my earrings dangle.
Okay.
Ooh, okay.
Let's get that for it, like.
These are hella big earrings for a dude. I didn't realize how big they are, but maybe I'll get some bigger ones and shock people even more. Okay, so anyway, the story is about this guy. There's a guy and a woman, basically. The story revolves around them and their relationship. There's a man. His name is Osei Ngai Gardner. And this woman, me and Ataki Winters, the story opens with Osei sitting in his apartment, trying to write and having like great writer's block. Like he can't do it. He can't write. So he prays. He says his prayer, which I wrote, actually. I wrote the prayer. And really interesting thing is I needed a prayer for my story. And I was just thinking, and then this prayer just comes tumbling into my head. I've never written any prayers before. You know, if I have to pray, I was just like, hey, God, you know what's going on? I need some help. Amen. You know, I mean, I have conversations with God. I don't pray, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, this prayer comes tumbling in my head, and it's like perfect. It's just so great for the story, so I put it in there. Anyway, this guy prays and tries to meditate, and he still has writer's block, so he goes out and ends up at this club downtown, like close to where he lives. The story is kind of set in Manhattan, in the Village, in New York. So anyway, he goes to this club. It's like this gay club, and queer club, rather, whatever, called Alternative Rhythms. Huh? What? Glasses? No glasses? Okay. So goes to this club and just like walks around, and he's bi, you know, he's looking at guys, and guys looking at him, and he's looking at girls, and girls looking at him, and this one big, huge, massive, like totally beautiful guy asks him to dance, and he's like just drinking this drink, and this guy's really big, and there's like scads of people out there, so he's like, nah, it's cool, I don't want to dance. But just when he's about to cut out, this beautiful, like fawn, thick woman walks in. And the way she walks into the club, she's totally possessed, you know, just like people are looking at her, and she's not thinking about them at all, you know? And she walks over to the bar where he is and orders this drink, and Osei tries to say something to her, and she just like blows him off, like smart ass comment. And the bartender is so taken with her. This woman, the bartender is a woman, and she's so taken with this other woman, Mia, that she forgets to charge Mia for her drink. So Osei pays for it and goes over like as a, you know, telling this woman that he paid for her drink, using as an introduction. Anyway, they meet, they talk. She gaffles him again, and they end up dancing. He asks her for a dance in exchange for payment for his drink. She agrees, they dance. He gets her to go to a coffee shop with him. They talk for hours and hours. And they realize that both of them, he wants to take her home. Like, he wants to ask her to come home with him, but he's suddenly become really shy. And she really wants to go home with him, but she doesn't want him to take it for granted, you know? So she just finally breaks out and she says, I want to come home with you, like I know you want me to, but you know, don't, just whatever. They go home, and she's like, you know, awed by his apartment, and they talk. Anyway, he learns that she's an artist, and she actually is a sculptor. But the way she makes money is she makes these plate sets, like ceramic plate sets and shit. And she makes them really well, like, you know, whatever. They're really, like, exquisite. But she really could give a fuck about them. I mean, it's just, like, something she does to make money. But she makes a lot of money. She's making, like, $75,000 a year because she's really exclusive. And her plates, like a full set of plates, like pitchers, cups, mugs, bowls, all that shit, could cost like $1,500, you know? And she just does this to support her true, like, art, which is sculpting and, like, bronzing or whatever. And she works with metal. And she makes, like, these amazingly beautiful statues. And like, busts and things are just so beautiful. But they're painful to look at, you know what I'm talking about? Like, you ever see something that's, you look at it and it's beautiful, like aesthetically, but it's hard for you to see. You know what I mean, Len?
It's so beautiful, it hurts you?
Like, the subject matter. Like, aesthetically, like, oh, it's so beautiful. But
it's painful.
Right, like
the subject, the topic, whatever.
Like, you see a photograph, it's a photograph of a dying child, and the framing, like, aesthetically, the picture is beautiful. You know what I mean? But the subject of the picture is not.
Killing you.
Right. That's what I mean. She does work like that. Like, she does.
Yeah, I've seen photographs like just like that.
She does statues of, like, people, like, in chains and bondage, like, of slavery. They're not physically correct, but they're emotionally correct. You know? Like, she has a statue of this man, and he's, like, you know, just finished being whipped.
They're not physically correct?
No, like, emotionally, they're more exaggerated.
Oh.
Like, so in this picture, this man's back is huge, and it has, like, huge, massive welts in it, like cuts and bruises and stuff.
That's probably how he feels it.
Right, and his hands are really small, and his feet are really small, and his arms are, like, you know, because he feels weak. So all, like, the physical manifestations of strength in a man are small, and all of his vulnerabilities are shown really large, you know? And she's looking up, and in the picture, and the man is looking up, and he just, not the picture, the sculpture, and he just feels, you can just see that he feels absolutely, positively impotent. He has no power over his situation, you know? And, I mean, this is the kind of work that she creates. Like, she has a picture of, she has sculptures of people who are in the process of being raped, but nobody will buy this shit, you know? So she makes it, but nobody will buy it. But she has to make it, you know? It's like, I could probably write for the rest of my life. And if I never show anybody my work, if I never, like, try to sell my stories, I mean, I'm going to be writing novels and novels and novels or whatever. But, you know, I mean, if I'm not aggressive about it, then maybe after I die, some fool will look at my papers and, you know, like, oh my God, he was a magnificent writer. Maybe, like, my grandchildren will get some money, but fuck, I thought Mr. Hoover just taught class, huh? Anyway, so she can't sell her sculpture, so she does this to support her habit. Like, you know, metal is expensive to buy. So, and he writes children's stories. But what he really wants to write is like these great like love stories and novels and poems and things, you know, like that's what he does. But he's not really doing it, he kind of half-ass does it, you know, like
He doesn't like the children's story?
No, he likes them, he loves them. I mean, you know, it's what he does to make money.
But he'd rather.
Right. I mean, what he's really good at, he's good, you know, he's competent. He writes good children's stories, but, you know, I mean, he's a much better poet, a much better, like, novelist. But, you know, he can crank out, like, a 20-page children's story and get paid, and it pays his rent, you know. He sells them to magazines and stuff, and it's okay, it's fine. It gets him by. And anyway, they go home to his house, and there's this long, like, sequence where she takes a bath, and he's, like, running around his house. He's never had a woman in his house. He's really a shy person. You know, he's never had anybody but like his mother and his sister there, you know, and he has all these beautiful paintings, you know, of like all these African-American leaders. Like he has a painting of Angela Davis and Miles Davis and, you know, W.E.B. Du Bois and Malcolm X. Like they're all around his house. And he has like a big picture window, you know, that he looks out into the village from. And it's a beautiful apartment. And it's cluttered, you know, it's a man's apartment. It basically looks like my room at home, and not necessarily dirty, but, you know, like a lot of shit laying around. And, you know, she looks around and she, you know, pretty much sums it up, and I don't know, she just kind of take a shower, and she goes in and she sees his bathroom, which is like his retreat. When his friend bought the building, you know, his best friend Michael owns this building and he gets by. He's allowed to live in the building rent-free in exchange for managing the other apartments. When his friend Michael, you know, was, you know, building the apartments or whatever in his warehouse, he's like, look, Osei's like, look, you know, you got to put in really nice bathrooms. They have to have huge tubs that like any 6-foot-tall man can lay down in, and, you know, I mean, huge tub, like really nice, you know, shower, huge sink. Just the bathroom is like a bathroom that, you know, any thinking, living human being who's ever sat in one of those itty-bitty ass tubs would want. She goes in, she sees like the big bathroom, she decides she's gonna have one. She bathes, she comes out like all nicely like perfumed or whatever, and he is so like exhausted by the day and like so overtaken with emotion that he falls asleep. He is falling asleep laying across his bed, you know? So she comes in, he's fallen, he's dead asleep, he's like snoring almost. She's like, oh. So she comes in and she shakes him and he's, oh, I'm sorry, did I fall asleep? She's like, yeah, it's fine. And she gets into bed and, you know, she falls asleep, like just thinking how like sweet this man is, you know? Here he's gone through all this trouble to like seduce her and like gone, like, you know, went through like his room and, you know, cleaned up his room a little bit. And she looks at his pictures on his dresser and like sees his family and, you know, like knows that this is like a really, like he's committed to his family. He doesn't have any pictures of very many women. It's like 2 people that like aren't in his family that you can see on his little case in his room. She looks in his closet, he has like scads of shoes, you know. Like, he has like 60 pairs of shoes, you know. He like has Imelda Marcos's shoe closet. He does. So
He's a real Imelda.
He is. He's like Imelda Marcos's cousin or something. That's a line in the story, but anyway.
What is it? He's like Imelda Marcos's what?
Cousin. You know, he has like all these shoes, like sneakers mostly, like sneakers and boots, like like hip-hop-ish type shoes, like, you know, like, which is what he ends up spending a good amount of like his story checks on, is like shoes, you know, which is what I would do. And he has like just like nice like shit, you know, like he has a couple suits and, you know, but mostly just like jeans and like, you know, kick it gear, like stuff that I would spend my money on, whatever. Anyway, she goes and gets in bed and falls asleep, and he wakes her up like sexually, and there's just, I don't want to get into it, but there's this long sequence about, you know, how he seduces her. No, actually he gets up, he makes her breakfast, brings it to her. He like makes her like fried plantains and apples, and, you know, he's a really good cook like me, and like he makes her this beautiful like massive like totally colorful omelet, and just watches her eat, you know, like watches her like, you know, just watches her chew and like spends like a while like watching her sleep, you know. And it's funny because he brings her the food on plates that she made, but he doesn't know that they're hers because she didn't tell him that. She didn't tell him that she told him that she, like, you know, that she's a sculptor. She didn't tell him that, but I make, you know, $100,000 a year slinging plates, you know. She didn't say that. She's like, I'm a sculptor, and that's how I make money. Anyway, he watches her eat, and like, she's just beautiful. Like, you know, she's like this mocha cream color, like a latte color, like her skin is a tone of a really well-made latte, you know. And I'll leave that up to the reader to decide, like, you know, what they decide a well-made latte is. And she has freckles. You know, even on her tongue, she has freckles. And she has this really beautiful nose. It's like kind of broad, not really broad, but, you know. And it's just a little bit pointy at the end, and it comes down, it's almost a little bit too big. And she has beautiful eyes, like, they're almost Asian, you know? And she has just, like, you know, brownish, kind of brownish, greenish pupils. And she has really full lips. And her hair is, like, really long and thick and curly. She's just a beautiful woman, like, you know, like, collectively, like, not individually. If you just looked at, like, features, maybe the thing that would be most beautiful about her, like, individually, be her eyes, you know? Just because it's unusual. But collected on her face, you know, they're really nice features. And her body is really nice, and she doesn't work out at all. She's just one of those people, just, you know, fucking slam junk food and coffee all day, you know. Would never, ever be fat. Just thick, you know, sister. Anyway, he watches her eat, and like while she's eating, he's just getting a little bit too horny, so he, you know, he starts to seduce her, and there's this long, like, 3-page part about the seduction and about how they actually finally end up making love. And at one point they just kind of stop, you know, because it's not, they just feel like stopping and like talking, you know. So they stop and they talk and they start again, and it's just, you know, whatever. Like, it's not your classic, like, it's not a, like an it is X-rated like in a text, but in the context it's not, you know. And they stop and they have like a conversation, like a real conversation, like about sex and, you know, protection and all this other stuff. And they go again. And anyway, she leaves, and she's startled because she goes home, and this man has like just, you know, gotten at her, you know, just just totally like gotten to her heart in one day, you know. She's shocked because she just went out, basically she was going to go pick some guy up, take him home, and make him leave, you know. And that was totally her intent. Just, she was really frustrated, and she needed some like physical sexual release, and she was just going to go out and just be a dog and like get some guy, play him, and send him home, you know. You know, which women do, but they don't tell us that they do that. And it took me years to find that out from some, you know, truthful female friends of mine. And this man who's like, you know, obviously like really sweet and sappy and like, you know, could be completely to the left. You know, he's like a victim waiting to be victimized. It's just really nice, you know. And she's like, wow, you know, fuck, what am I going to do? So he, you know, on the other hand, is like, oh my God, you know, she's so wonderful. I can't believe that happened to me. And, you know, he like goes to, thanks God. And, you know, he's just like, wow, you know, I met the most beautiful woman. And, but at the same time, he's like, you know, he's like, I don't care. You know, I'm going to write now. I don't have writer's block. I can write about something. So he goes and, you know, he works on stories and stuff. And she said she's going to call him. She doesn't, you know. And so they play this whole like phone tag game, and he's trying to be nonchalant on the phone, but he can't. He like can't deny how beautiful it was to him. And so he writes her this beautiful poem, you know. And he sends her the poem, and she's just like, oh my God, what the hell, you know. And she sends him flowers, and they actually don't see each other for like 2 weeks, you know. And they finally do see each other. It's like, pow, like I can't believe how, you know, why are we playing this game with one another? Like what the fuck? Anyway, he goes over to her house, and he goes in, and she lives in this brownstone, you know, that she bought from HUD, which is Housing Under Development.
Yeah.
And
all too familiar.
yeah, exactly. She has a nice kiln in the basement, and, you know, she's like renovating the house slowly, you know. And he like is looking at the shit in her house. She has really nice shit, you know, and she's like totally like the most unmoney type person you'd ever know. Like, she wears beat up clothes. She has like 2 pairs of jeans she wears all the time. Both of them are all ripped up, you know. She's like an artist, you know. She like, you know, she plays with clay and dirt and stuff and like bronze, you know. She doesn't, her one vanity really, like in terms of like basic female vanity, is that she paints her toenails because her fingernails always get broken and like messed up in the kiln. So she has really nice feet. I mean, whatever, you know. Her hands are like pretty scarred and stuff, but you know. And her hair is like always like ratty, and the only reason she brushes it is because it's not ratty, but it's, you know, it's dirty usually. The only reason she really brushes it is because she doesn't want to like have, you know, shit from her friends about, you know, having like dirt and like dreadlocks in her hair. So she just, you know, brushes her hair and like usually like wears a baseball cap or like, you know, put her hair on top of her head and just like tie it up and just go, you know. She's just like, wow, or whatever. And the rare occasions that she has to appear in public, like she'll, you know, prettify herself or whatever. So anyway, this woman has this brownstone, like this 4-story brownstone, and you know, he walks around, he's looking at it, and she has like TVs, you know. She has just really nice stuff. And you know, she's like, you want to see, like, you know, you want to see my favorite thing in the whole world? And he's like, yeah, sure. And they go to like her little garage, and she has this vintage like '68 Camaro. It's like mint, you know. But you know, and he doesn't know shit about cars. He knows nothing. But this is a really nice car. But it's like got this black mirror finish, totally like leather interior, like, you know, CD player. It's a really like fat ass car. It's fat, you know. And it's like, wow, where'd you get that? She's like, well, I bought it as a junker, and I've been restoring it for the past couple of years. He's like, you're restoring this car? She's like, yeah. He's like, yourself? Like, yeah, who the hell else would do it? And she gets really mad because he assumes that she would never do it, you know. But she has the engine, the original engine, in her living room, and she has a new engine in the car, you know, that she installed herself, and you know, she's basically restored this whole car by herself. And she's also a genius. She's just like, she figured out like how to mount this new, like, you know, '89 engine or whatever from a new Camaro, like into this old like Camaro that had been a junker. You know, she's done all the body work herself. She's like, this is my work. She points to one of her sculptures that's in the garage, and she's like, this is my love, you know. And it's like, wow, you know, shit. You know, his car like gets a flat tire, he just walks away and calls a mechanic. Like, he's not that mechanically inept, you know, but he's pretty clueless when it comes to like fixing shit. So, you know, they have to deal with that conflict, and he's like, wow, you know, it's crazy, you know, this woman like is a mechanic and I'm not, you know, and he's kind of intimidated by that, so he deals with that and whatever. She finally comes out of the rich closet to him. She's like, look, I need to tell you something. You know,
rich closet?
Yeah, she's like, these sculptures are not how I make money, you know. Actually, how I make money are these plates. And he's like, and he, you know, he's like, you're the Mia winner. She's like, yeah, that's me. And he like adds it up in his head. He's like, damn, you're paid, you know. I mean, she is, you know, she bought this house. She has this car that, you know, she has pumped thousands of dollars into. She has like a giant, like fat ass Sony, like high definition TV in her living room. But money really, it doesn't mean a whole lot to her, you know. She gets money from things that doesn't really mean, you know, like if somebody took the plates away from her like tomorrow, she wouldn't care, you know, because they don't mean anything to her, you know. Like the whole way she got the money, whole way she got started in the plate business was, and this is also in the story, is this friend of her mother's, or a friend of her roommates, yeah, her roommates in college. She made some plates just for this woman one day, and her mom saw the plates, and she was like, wow, these are great, where'd you get them? She's like, oh, my housemate made them. And her mom is like, well, would you make me a pair? And the mom is like some high society, you know, rich society hill woman, and was like, you could make a lot of money doing this. And she's like, yeah, right. And I can tell you what, make me a couple sets, I'll sell them for you. Someone sells these plates for like $1,000, you know, I mean, these sets. And she's like, oh, well now. So Anyway, she ends up like putting the rest of herself through college, and her, you know, this woman's mom becomes her agent. You know, she's like, what's that woman who makes those little pins and like Laura somebody or another? Anyway, she's like, you know, high society exclusive. Like to have one plate of hers is considered a privilege. You know, so if you have a whole set, you're obviously rich. So you know, she has whatever.
She's
Yeah.
stoked.
I rehashed that point like a million times.
Is this fun describing all the fun things she has?
Well, yeah. So anyway.
Which I think is good.
Yeah.
The high definition TV.
Yeah. You know, she has like VCRs, and you know, he goes up to her room. She has this massive feather bed, just huge, and you know, she's like, yeah, whatever, you know.
What funny happens with them?
Oh, okay. I'm like joining on and on. The core of the story is like how basically they're both really wounded people, you know. She's also bi and had been through a lot of like bad relationships with both men and women, and she's used to just using, you know, people for sex and is not really, you know, into relationships. And he, on the other hand, is really a walking wound, and you know, like wants somebody, you know, to love and like be involved with and like be in love with, and but he's not really willing to admit that. He's like, you know, I'm tough, I'm a man, you know, don't need anybody. Like it's really into like the Hemingway type thing and just like, you know. But he's really not like that. I mean, it's not really where he is. And one other really important scene, and this is as far as I've gotten in the story, is they've been going out for months, and they go to this. They decide they need to get away from the city, both of them, and just get away from their work. And they go up to a cabin up in the Catskills or wherever, some mountains like the Poconos, and it's real redneck. They get there really late. What? Oh, okay.
Okay.
They get there really late, and by this time they pretty much admitted to each other that they're in love, you know, like, but they haven't said it. But you know, the way that they.
Okay, so they're going on vacation to the Catskills.
Yeah. Okay. So Osei is also has trained in martial arts like his entire life. That's his like writing is his work. This is his love. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, he loves them both, but this is what he does. It's like not related to writing, to craft himself. And he's also really a big guy into this. He's like 6'5". He's massive, you know, and he looks like an athlete. They're in this bar. They're eating dinner, and Mia is really fiery, and she ends up insulting this redneck, and he calls her nigger bitch, and she like caps him, you know. She just slaps the shit out of this guy, and the guy like goes to hit her back, and he never even connects because Osei just fucks him up. And fucks up everybody in the bar, including the bartender. Like, just explodes violently. Just is just like, you don't do that to my woman. I hate crackers. Da da da. Just loses it. Just, you know, it's just macking people. Like, you know, beats up like 6 people in this bar, like badly. Like all these people need to be hospitalized. You know, it totally overreacts the situation. And Mia is just like, what? You know, like she's shocked. She doesn't understand like how this man could be so violent, you know, and like hurt all these people so badly, and she's really scared by him, and they have to leave, you know, like right away. And the rest of the story is about like reconciling, you know, these really like separate halves of themselves, and like admitting to each other that they're in love, and he absolutely won't say it until she does, you know. And she finally does say it, and the way that he finds out is she makes him a set of plates for his birthday. Like she makes him a complete set, and she specializes in doing these really nice layers, so that you look at plates in a different way, and they're like different colors on some of them, and you know they have different patterns, like depending on how lights hit them, and she like puts like silver in some plates and stuff, like puts metals in some of them in his plates. Anyway, on the bottom of all of his plates, she writes, "I love you, Osei," you know? But then she glazes over it, so it's really hard to see, you know? In case you would have to really be looking at it, you know? To see, like, these words. And she does these set of mugs for him, and if you line the mugs up in a certain way, you know, they have a picture of Mia and a picture of Osei. It says Mia plus Osei equals love. And he just never sees it. And he's had these plates for like 4 months after his birthday.
You never noticed?
No, listen. Because he only uses like 2 plates in 2 mugs or whatever. And he uses his old ones. He doesn't ever like, you know, he's like, thank you, baby. And he just, you know, he puts them away. You know, he's like, wow, yeah. And he sees that they're beautiful, but he never like examines them. Anyway, his mom and sister come over. And his mom is looking at this plate, you know. And his mom says, Osei, what does it say on the bottom? And he's like, what do you mean? It probably says Mia Winters on it. So he goes to look and he finally sees it. And it's just after they've had this huge, massive fight. You know, and she's like, I don't ever want to fucking see you again. You know, I can't stand you. You're a coward. You're afraid to be who you really are. And he knows it's all true, you know. Like, he knows that he's afraid to, like, just write like he really wants to. And she's like, you know, you're such a good poet and da-da-da, but you won't do, you know. And it's like, you're a coward, too, because you won't even show your own goddamn sculptures, you know. You give them to your friends. You don't, you know, you're afraid to, like. And he finally sees it, and he's like, oh, my God, you know, she does, she said it. And he goes over, and, like, somehow or another, I'm trying to figure out, like, how, you know, how they reconcile that. And then it ends, actually, with, you know, them finally admitting that they love each other, and just, that's, like, the thing. It's like, I love you, and she, like, I love you, too. And it's a story about mutual healing, like, how they help each other to overcome these things and become more whole people. Thank you. And I don't know, there's a whole...
It's in progress, or is it done?
It's in progress. I don't know. It's like 50 pages already. I mean, I've left out so much, like... A whole reason Osei has a really big problem with white people is that, unlike most black people in America, there's no white people in his family, you know? He doesn't have any white lineage. He's a product of, like... I think I worked it out where... one element in my stories is there's always martial arts, and there's always, like, extraordinary people in pretty ordinary circumstances. And that Osei is a product of one of his fathers is or one of his grandfathers is, what the hell's the name of that tribe? I always talk about them, but Seminole. One of his grandfathers, yeah, is a Seminole Indian.
Florida?
Yeah. And you know, they never lost any battles in America. Like, they basically whooped America's ass. If there had been as many Seminoles as there have been American soldiers, America would not be America right now. America would be like Seminole Nation or something, because they would have already, like, whooped America's ass like 1 trillion times over. They had like a, you know, 100-to-1 kill ratio or some crazy shit like that in all their battles. One of his grandfathers is Seminole. His grandmothers are, you know, anyway, he comes from warrior people, like warrior stock, you know. Another of his grandmothers is a Maroon from Jamaica, and the Maroons are like the dopest, like, Jamaican people. Like, they live in the mountains, and they consistently kick the English's ass every time they ventured up into the mountains. And another one of his grandfathers is Zulu, and then there's an African-American grandmother, you know. And they all met in the Garveyite movement. So he comes from, like, really strongly nationalist people, you know. And, you know, he has, you know, he's a writer, but he reflects that sensibility about him. He's like, yo, I'm taking no shit from Whitey, you know, none. And he just doesn't really, you know, he has white friends, but, you know, like, probably most African-American people, you know, we interact with white people, but the anger is, like, pretty much suppressed, you know. It just comes out in other ways, like, against each other. And, on the other hand, Mia is, you know, and he's raised, like, in, you know, he's an inner city person. Mia, on the other hand, is, you know, one of her grandfathers is Russian Jew, you know, immigrant, and one of her grandmothers is an African American woman. Her other grandfather was a painter during the Harlem Renaissance, and the grandmother, the white grandmother, was a reporter who was doing a story on the Harlem Renaissance, and, like, met, you know, Mia's grandfather, and they fell in love. And, you know, so, you know, she's half white or whatever, biologically, genealogically, or whatever, genetically, whatever the fuck the genetic map thing is. So, you know, she's grown up with, like, a really diverse history, you know, and never, you know, she operates as a multiracial person in the world, like, the way she thinks, and, you know. So, you know, like a lot of dark people, of course she has, like, anger at white people, but she's more able to, like, to categorize it, you know. in terms of like racist and non-racist, and she's pretty even-handed about who she's pissed off about. You know, she's not very nationalist. She's a very conscious person, but she sees like injustice. Period. She doesn't see it so much in terms of race, or you know, she feels pretty much as pissed off about the Soviet Jewry as she does about, you know, slavery and the Holocaust. It's like all the same thing to her, you know. So they have that whole thing, you know. He's like, you know, whatever. And you know, that's what my story is about.
That's quite a mix you came up for her.
Yeah, I know a lot of people like that actually.
Really?
I just talk to them, you're like, how the fuck did your family ever meet, you know? And that's one thing he says to her. It's like, you know, your mother and father are really lucky to find each other. She's like, yeah. You know? But she says, like, I'm black, you know? Like, I'm multiracial, but, like, I'm a black person, you know? So that's what it's about. And I really, you know, I'm really absorbed in the story. Another conflict is she is really a lot smarter than he is. A lot. You know, he's not dumb at all, but she's like a genius, you know? You know, she's like, in so many different ways, because of her artwork and like the way her stuff works, she's like got metallurgy like down in her head, like, you know, a whole other discipline like blacksmithing and metallurgy. She just knows it, you know? And he has to deal with the fact that this woman, you know, who's like, you know, small, like 5'3", petite, you know, is like way smarter than he is, and, like has a much broader base of knowledge. Like she speaks Yiddish, you know. You know, her grandmother calls her, her grandfather calls her, and doesn't, you know, speak a whole lot of English, kind of okay. So this woman starts speaking in Yiddish on the phone, and he's like, what the fuck is that? Yiddish. You know, he knows what it sounds like, but she's never done it before, so he's just like, you know, she's like, yeah, I speak Yiddish and French, English, you know. So he's a composite of me and a lot of my friends and where I would like to be in my life, and she's a composite of like every woman I know.
I was going to tell you about a good video I saw today about Lightning Hopkins.
Who was that?
Blues player.
Oh, yeah, yeah, okay. Of course. Lightning Hopkins, what a name. Of course he's a blues player. So is the video still on?
I think this video is over.
Okay. Let me put my glasses back on.
It would be fun to do a real interview at the end. I think so.
Well, keep it. And, you know, one day,
Well, you're going to be leaving soon.
when we're both famous, you know.
Oh, this one, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we're both famous.
You know, we can get together and we can edit it and put it together. As a matter of fact, I'd like, why don't you let me copy it? And can you get me into an editing booth?
Yeah, we can copy this.
Yeah, are they just swamped now?
No, we can copy this whenever.
Because I'd like to spend some time like in an editing booth. I want to edit it and I want to have it for myself.
This video right here?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have all the tapes and shit at home.
I'd like to do like a sexuality video.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it tomorrow.
Alright.
Yeah. I'll even bring the tape.